Okay, so let's begin the third session of week 2. And at this session, we will talk about the Korean barbecue culture, which is widely known in contemporary world that whenever you think about Korean food, many people would imagine bulgogi. Now, this bulgogi developed, not invented, of course, it has been already there among Koreans, but this culture developed during Joseon Dynasty, and behind this was also the Mongol influence in the end of Korea Dynasty. Traditionally, the Koreans also, just like anyone else in the world, they consumed various kinds of meat, both from domesticated animals such as cow, pig, dog, chicken, but also game meats by capturing the animals by hunting. And now that includes pheasant, deer, wild boar, and so on, which were abundant in the hilly forest areas in Korea. And however, this meat was not the central part of their diet, unlike Europeans. And the reason we will explain later. And among all this meat, however, beef was the most favorite meat for Koreans, particularly to upper class. And of course, beef was not abundant in Korea. Actually, it was the government restricted butchering cows because cows were very important animal for agriculture, especially in Confucian idea. So the only people who were able to consume beef was, of course, upper class people. And ordinary people, not being able to consume beef, they relied on chicken and dog meat, which was probably the most popular meat during Joseon Dynasty. As I said in the first session, when Buddhism was introduced to Korea, like in Japan, the government discouraged the people from butchering, killing animals. So meat eating was very much discouraged in Korea. Not as much as in Japan, it seems like, but even in Korea, with the influence of Buddhism, Koreans ate less meat in this period. However, this would change when in the 13th and 14th century, nearly over 200 years, when Korea was under the rule of Mongols. And Mongols are carnivorous people, and they eat meat on daily basis, and they use animal milk to make a cheese and so on. So with this influence, Koreans also revived their habit of meat eating very much. And it was the Mongols who brought some of the popular meat-based cuisine in Korea today. Like, for example, there are different theories, but they say seolleongtang and 곰탕, this beef soup with rice, that was introduced by Mongols. And also yukpo, the dried beef jerky, also originated from Mongolian borscht. So this food, which is very popular even today, were introduced by Mongols. And in addition, the popular distilled alcohol of soju, even today, Koreans are famous for soju drinking, and soju was also introduced by Mongols. And in Mongolia, they have the liquor called nermel, and that's the origin of Korean soju. However, it was not invented by Mongols. The Mongols themselves learned this alcohol distilling skills from the Arab world which they conquered. Let's talk a little bit more about Mongol influence. That, as I said, even though the Joseon government itself discouraged butchering cows for beef because people loved beef so much. The government had to restrict and discourage, and some people are punished if they butcher cows, okay? Because cows were the most important animals for agriculture, particularly rice cultivation. And even though the government discouraged the people from eating and butchering beef or cow, and people were freed from previous Buddhist culinary tradition, which emphasized mostly on vegetarianism, at least the landed Yangban literati class who owns land and who are the ruling class, they managed to consume beef quite a bit, probably. And the way how they ate beef was very much outdoor barbecuing. So even today, Koreans love outdoor barbecuing, and when Koreans have a pastime, hiking mountains and so on, and they tend to grill meat, and they enjoy outdoor barbecue. And this culture developed during Joseon Dynasty as well. And with Mongol influence, Koreans also used dried beef, which they learned from Mongolia, and they also dried fish as well, and they offered this food in their ancestral worship ritual. And this was together with rice and some particular fruits. And this bulgogi culture has been continuing in modern Korea, and that's why Korea is famous for its bulgogi culture. When Koreans emigrated from Korea to other countries such as Japan, China, America, and so on, and they brought this culture and they continued their barbecue, and that's why in America particularly Koreans are famous for bulgogi, and you may have heard LA galbi, and now that's in LA Koreatown, the Los Angeles Koreatown, people used this galbi, and later this LA galbi was introduced to Korea itself, and you can enjoy LA galbi in Korea as well. And meanwhile, as I said, beef was not available for most people, and ordinary people, the only thing they could enjoy out of beef was whatever left over, that after this upper class use all the meat part. Now the only part left was bones, heads, and intestines, and now these will be used to make a soup. And as I told you already, the seolleongtang and gomtang are made of these bones and weird part of beef, and because this kind of food can feed so many people at once. So probably that's why the Koreans have kept this habit of enjoying seolleongtang and gomtang even today. And I will give you some specific examples of how the Yangban elite enjoyed barbecued beef in Joseon Dynasty. And we know it because there are some recordings and particularly paintings that depicts the Yangban class enjoying beef outdoor. And interestingly, they tended to do it in winter particularly. So it was famous event that Yangban people who barbecued beef outdoor and drinking, and as you see in this image, it's definitely winter, because if you look at what clothing they are having is they have a hat and so on. And this is winter outdoor people around the barbecue grill. They are enjoying the meat. And also the same, the image below. That's also Yangban class enjoying beef and drinking. 18th century scholar and writer Park Jae-ga's essay, he once stated that every day more than probably 500 cows are butchered in this country, which is Joseon. So I don't think he had a very accurate statistical data, but that's out of what this statement, we can imagine that quite a big number of cows were butchered every day in Joseon. And as I said, the Yangban class enjoyed grilled beef, and similar to bulgogi of today. And particularly in Seoul, there was the Confucian, the highest level Confucian school, Seongyungwan. The students at Seongyungwan were allowed to eat beef possibly because it was imagined that because they are studying very hard, they need good nutrient and good food. So the record shows that Seongyungwan consumed quite a bit of beef, and there were professional butchers who supplied the beef regularly to Seongyungwan. And these records and paintings, they show how the upper class people enjoyed beef, barbecued beef, especially in winter. And in Joseon time, the Koreans preferred beef over other meat, including pork, which is even true today. Well, samgyeopsal is much loved by contemporary Koreans, but traditionally Koreans always preferred beef over pork. And pork was actually not consumed that much in Joseon Dynasty because pigs were not easy to raise because they require a lot of things to eat. And it's much easier to raise dogs and chickens. So that's why pork was not consumed very much in Joseon Dynasty. But upper class consumed beef and lower class dogs and chicken. All right, we have covered barbecued beef during Joseon Dynasty, and now it's time for us to move to various vegetables, particularly new vegetables, which became available in Korea from the New World. And they were introduced through China and Japan or other countries to Korea by the 18th century.